And in a remarkable public letter published in the Washington Post, all 10 living former U.S. defense secretaries cautioned the military against any involvement in Donald Trump's election dispute. And they warned that any effort to involve U.S. armed forces would take the country into, quote, dangerous, unlawful, and unconstitutional territory. Joining me now is former Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel, one of the authors of that letter. Mr. Secretary, thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to just start with this. Why did you and the others feel the need to draft this letter?
Well, I think, Katie, primarily because we have witnessed for almost 4 years the dangerously erratic and irresponsible behavior and actions taken by this president, and especially in the last few weeks since the election, when there's been very loose talk about military law, employing the Insurrection Act, overturning the election, January 6th, what you just talked about, is very much part of that. And I think to put an accent on that, the newspapers and television, radio, and news programs over the last 24 hours have been full of the conversation that the president had with the Secretary of State of Georgia that came out yesterday. In that tape recording, that's pretty unnerving. What the president did, he threatened the Secretary of State. So when you total all of that up and you think about the military would be a central player in this, if in fact this president would move to employ the Insurrection Act or to install military rule in this country, it would have to be done through the military. And our op-ed just reminds our military, and they know this, they're responsible, fantastic Americans, that their responsibility is to the Constitution. That's where they swear their oath, not to a president, not to a party. And I'm confident if this would ever come to that, they would do that. But it's just a reminder, and I think it was an important statement and an important reminder to all citizens of this democracy.
Are you talking to the officers and the rank and file, or are you speaking directly to the acting defense secretary, Christopher Miller, who is a political appointee?
Well, that op-ed was intended for everyone. I would actually start with the citizens of this country, so that the citizens of this country are reminded the cornerstone of our democracy is a smooth, lawful transition of power. That's what we've always done. That's what we expect. That's what Americans expect. And for a president to continue to incite and inflame that, question that, and he's done that over the last few months, that does great damage to confidence in our system, in our process, in democracy. So that op-ed was intended for all of Americans, certainly intended for the Pentagon, officers, enlisted men, civilian employees there as well.
You're a former Republican senator. I know you've served both Republicans and Democrats. But I just want to ask you what you make of the partial defense that I was given a moment ago by Ken Buck of Colorado, representative. He's not supporting this challenge to the Electoral College results, but part of his defense in supporting the president and supporting the president's efforts to investigate all the fraud that doesn't exist is because he says he's been treated unfairly by Democrats. The impeachment was unfair. What do you make of that argument?
Well, politics itself is not necessarily a fair business. Anybody who's ever been in politics or part of politics has seen unfairness. I'm sorry about that. I wish our system was perfect, that we didn't have unfairness. But we have laws, and we adhere to laws. The electors from all 50 states met a few weeks ago, and they registered their certification of each of their states. Many of those states in contention, by the way, in question, have Republican governors, have Republican secretaries of state. And they certified the election. The electors did, the ones responsible for doing that. And that's part of our law. That's how we transfer power peacefully. Now, this folly that the Congress is up to in 3 days is not going to work. It's futile. All it will do is continue to undermine democracy, undermine people's confidence in our system, and again, just prolong this incited fraud charge that the president has continued to make, actually started making it before the election, when he said the only way I could lose an election is if there's fraud, if the Democrats steal it. Well, we know that's not true.
Yeah.
The facts are the facts. So I'm sorry, Mr. Buck thinks politics is unfair, or particularly unfair to him. I could give you probably a half a dozen unfairnesses that I think have happened to me in politics over the years, but that's just the business. I don't know of anybody who's not been an elected official who gets some of that treatment. But if you believe enough in the system and the law of the land and why you're doing this, then you overlook that. That's just part of it. But in the end, we must maintain law. I mean, that's what keeps us a free people, and that what keeps us a free country, and that's what allows a strong and vibrant democracy.
Secretary Chuck Hagel, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate all of your time, sir.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.